Greetings, what's up, and welcome to the channel. The sun is shining and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 vs 1 battle, fresh from the ladder, featuring spawning in the south. It's going to be the Soviet forces of 42 DarkaB0T. I believe this is his premiere outing on the channel, so welcome to the channel to DarkaB0T. And spawning in the north, it's going to be the Overcommand West forces of PaoJ, who I've actually considered myself lucky enough to have caught quite a few games of his recently. Now, the reason I quite like watching PaoJ is because he's quite an aggressive Overcommand player, and I'll be honest, he sort of reminds me of myself a little bit, only he's better, so it's kind of proof of concept. If PaoJ can do it, then I can do it kind of thing, you know. He sort of plays my style, but at a higher level, so it's always nice to watch. The map today is going to be Falmianville Approach, and I will pan around this map, just to reacquaint you all with it. However, as I do so, I'm going to just shift the topic a little bit and talk about something else as both players make their initial units and get those first few scuffles underway. The story begins a couple of weeks ago. I think it was around, or maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, something like that anyway. And my friend Johnny Boomslang, who's a Company of Heroes 2 player, he may even feature on the channel here or there actually. Yeah, he brought a link to my attention that the developers Relic, who make Company of Heroes 2, we're having a call for casters to help them find some casters for this new ESL jig that they've got going on. Basically, they've got a deal going with ESL now where there's going to be a weekly, I believe it's weekly cup, and there's going to be prize money. It's going to be a pretty cool tournament structure, pretty much the best tournament structure that we've had so far in Company of Heroes 2, so everybody's pretty excited about that. And I just thought, you know, I'll submit one of my videos for their consideration, which I did, and I heard back from them, and I'm very, very proud to announce that I am now going to be the backup caster for the EU region for these ESL tournaments. So that means that I'll be in a backup role for AE and Stormless, who are two fantastic casters. If you've not heard of them, do go over and subscribe to their YouTube channels. I think you'll enjoy their videos very much. It's kind of similar stuff to what I do. So if you like this, you'll like that for sure. So AE and Stormless, they're going to be the two lead casters, and I'm actually going to be able to hopefully back them up from time to time, which is going to be really exciting. Also exciting is Existent, who is putting together Vet3 Gaming. He's running that operation. He's been in touch as well, and I'll be helping out Vet3 Gaming with some of their casts and tournaments as well. So some exciting stuff, and definitely a really good way to kick off 2016. It's safe to say I am super hyped. It's the most exciting thing to happen to the channel, and I'm like I say, I'm totally hyped, and I hope to get better and bring you more as we delve deeper into 2016. So a little bit of an announcement there. Got to say I'm pretty happy. Got to say that's really exciting stuff for me. So I thought I'd finally make it known on the channel. Woohoo! Yeah, rock on! I'm gonna have a celebratory sip on my tea. That's right, rocking times. Wow, there we go. So, let's take a look and see what's actually happened in this game here, because it's safe to say I've not been paying that much attention. Seemingly PaoJ, he's up to 3 squads of Volks, no Kubelwagen today, unless he's lost it somewhere on the map, which could have happened. And he's going to be going for a battle group at HQ, a fairly regular timing, in a very aggressive position on the map. This is about as aggressive as you can go while still being standard play. Any further down the map than this, and it starts being part of something pretty spiky and fairly ludicrous. For DarkaB0T, seemingly conscripts are going to be the weapon of choice, and we've got a number of squads of conscripts, some down in the south capturing this munitions point and moving towards the victory point. So, yep, conscript's going to be the weapon of choice. Let's check the tech for the Soviet player. So he's just now grabbing his tech 2. That's the support weapon Campanile. He's not researched Molotovs or his AT grenades or the medic upgrade just yet, but expect to see those following on. It's rare for a Soviet player to go up to the 4 squads of conscripts and not get some of the upgrades for them. Now let's see, the forward fallback research is coming down at an early timing on this battle group at HQ. Now this is typical play for PaoJ and of course myself, because this is kind of similar to how I play. So yeah, fairly typical play for PaoJ here. I mean, I would say let's check the teching for the Overcommand player, but here it is. That's the teching. So yeah, got a squad of Volks Grenadiers here, scuffling with a couple of squads of conscripts here in the south. That looks like a fight which, actually, from this heavy cover, they may be able to take. Actually, there's 2 squads coming to back them up, so they're definitely going to be able to take that. The north of the map is more or less in Allied hands. There's a couple of squads of conscripts up here, some engineers as well. In fact, you know what, it's more like a couple of squads of engineers with some conscripts as well. These Storm Pioneers are going to do some work, but I actually imagine that with these engineers in their hind quarter here, yeah, this is a fight that these Storm Pioneers are going to have to run away from. And the fallback path is a little awkward here, seeing as how this fence is intact. Now, it would have been nice if PaoJ got the opportunity when he was building this truck. It's a big ask, and you know, it's one of these things which would have been like, you know, a perfect kind of thing if he'd have been able to do it, but which rarely happens in practice. If he'd have been able to get this truck and just bash a hole in this wall, and possibly, yeah, okay, that wall's the main offender. If you bash well, it's a fence. If you bash a hole in that fence with your Schwerer Max Schlepper, it does actually streamline your fallback routes a little bit. On this map, it's not so much of an issue. On some maps, you genuinely have to spend the time in certain positions bashing through fences or walls and things, because otherwise your fallback routes are going to be awful if you do research that forward fallback point. Anyway, we've got an incendiary grenade coming down here. That's going to catch this Maxim, achieving some damage, but actually not killing any models. So possibly a shade unlucky there for PaoJ, but still some good damage inflicted. Soviet forces are going to commit up to the north here. That's going to leave these Volksgrenadiers down in the south here. They're going to have free reign to chew up some ground in the meantime, so keep an eye on them on the minimap, because they're going to be getting some work done behind this battle. Now, the Maxim gets set up. It's in an okay position, but it is in negative cover, and it's going to have to rotate, and it doesn't even rotate that well. If these Storm Pioneers go south, and they do, they're going to get round behind the arc of this Maxim, and that's going to force the MG to fall back. In fact, being in negative cover, okay, he's going to fall back the Storm Pioneers. There could have been a kill going on that Maxim. I was worried for a second, but the Maxim's going to get out of there. But without the Maxim, this is a much less pokey advance, but seemingly still pokey enough. Actually, if you look at the top left, look at the top right, you can see that there's a lot more units out for the Soviet player. He's running at a lot higher of supply too. So it seems even without that Maxim, there are just enough rifles here to be able to take down the German troops. So this is a potentially thorny situation here. We've also got these two squads of engineers setting mines and capturing points up here. So although he has 2 of the victory points, the resource income is actually just about favouring the Soviet player right now. And if this situation keeps up, things are going to deteriorate for the Axis player. Once these Soviet units here are able to get on top of the battle group at HQ, that is pretty desperate times. And the Maxim is going to be, here it is, it's going to be coming back to the field sooner rather than later. So this situation stands to get a little out of hand here. If that Maxim gets set up maybe in the heavy cover behind this wall, it can suppress a lot of these troops, and that's going to force PaoJ to be very defensive. The squad of Volks he had in the south has been forced back into the fight in mid. I believe it had to fall back or has just decided to rejoin the fight in mid, but that's going to enable the allied player to start chewing up ground to the south. And things looking a little dodgy right now for PaoJ. The Maxim getting set up in a nice position. There's a mortar on the field as well. It's the good old PM41 for the Soviet player, so that's in a great position back here. Now there is a light gun just coming onto the field right now for PaoJ, so he's going to have access to indirect fire of his own. But is it going to be enough? Well, we're going to have to see a nice grenade barrage coming down, of course, because, wow, actually, PaoJ has chosen a very unusual commander. I'll just, okay, I'll overview this commander in a second, because there's a pretty cool battle going on right here. I'd rather cover that. But he has gone for that special weapon tactics, or what is he even called? Special operations doctrine. There we go. Safe to say, a lesser spotted commander, and not one with which, I mean, I can tell you what he does, but I just couldn't quite remember his name. Anyway, light gun going to get some work done. That's actually going to get rid of the Maxim, which is quite nice. But let's see if this mortar is going to acquire the light. No, it's actually going for the building here. So that's quite a nice choice. I think if you're going to go for the building, it warrants getting another PM41. Although, you know what, if you can get some engineers with a flamethrower into this building, that would be horrendous. That would be a really nice play. Volksgrenadier is going to take the battle in the south, so the Axis player is going to be able to grab some land down there. That's going to be pretty worthwhile. Radio silence has just been activated, so wow, okay. Let's overview this commander now. Special Operations Doctrine, there it is on your screen. Just hit pause on the YouTube channel if you want to read through those abilities in your own time. But basically, Radio Silence, what it does is it hides all your units on the minimap, so it can be quite disorienting for your foe. Now, it's one of those abilities, I believe it costs 50? No, it costs 25, so that actually seems very good. It's one of those abilities that it can be hard to gauge how useful it's being. No, it's not two like that, yeah. Because you're just never sure whether your opponent was totally on top of things, you know, with regards to where your units are, and you just got a good fight, or whether the radio silence contributed to you setting up a good fight, or whether it made no difference at all, or whatever. So it's difficult to get a feel for just how good this ability is. And personally speaking, I'm never sure if it's, you know, whether it's very good at all. And to some extent, it will vary depending on your opponent. Some opponents will be able to deal with not being able to see your units on the minimap better than others. Anyway, I feel like that's enough about that ability. The Soviet advance here, we're looking at 2 squads of conscripts, an engineer squad and a mortar squad here, although the Maxim was just now taken out. The fallback did come down, but they weren't actually able to carry that Maxim out of there. We've got a second Lig now coming onto the field for PaoJ, so that's going to be 2 Ligs. And only one mortar squad for the Soviets, so if the Ligs decide to focus that mortar squad, and it seems like they've just started, they could get some good damage done. Now these conscripts are the engineers are going to pick up that Maxim again and get that back out of there. That's an important pickup for the Soviet player. But I feel like PaoJ has broken this contain now. He's repairing his battle group at HQ with his engineers, and his Volksgrenadiers are ranging freely now and being able to get quite a lot of kills in against the Soviet force. Also, if you look at the supply here, I know the Soviet forces are depleted at the moment, but PaoJ, it's safe to say, has caught up a little bit. If you look at the top left, look at the top right, it's no longer quite such a disparity between the two forces. Now, the Soviet player has managed to make some gains in the south of the map. He's going to look to set up some mines, though I imagine he'll be interrupted. But yeah, the Soviet player has made some gains in the south, which is important because he's still well ahead on resources, and he's even pulling up a score lead. I take that back. He's 63 points behind, but he is eroding that lead, sorry. So he doesn't have a score lead, but he's catching back up in terms of score for sure. So, I mean, this is a really thorny position. This position here, with two light guns, basically almost has range of everything that's relevant on the map. I mean, it's pretty scary. The Soviet player can try and break this, but I feel like he needs either one more Maxim or one more mortar. Because with two mortars he can put some heavy pressure on the building, with two Maxims he can push heavily and get in range with his units. I also feel like he could use getting some flamethrowers on his engineers. Okay, he's got one flamer, and then if he could get those flamers into this building, that would be really nice. At the very least it would force an incendiary. A Molotov going to come down in a great position onto this developing mechanized regiment HQ. DarkaB0T's going to be able to find and destroy it. Fantastic work. I mean, I think what he did there was force the cancel, although as far as I know, cancelling doesn't return you any of the resources, so that's awkward for PaoJ. He's going to have to build another truck, and he's still really only got 3 squads of Volks, so he could easily get overwhelmed by like 2 squads of engineers, 4 of conscripts, and a Maxim. That's quite a lot of frontline pressure. Now bear in mind, behind this, a Soviet squad did manage to punch through and grab some points all the way back here. In fact, you know what? The supply line of the Axis runs tenuously off of very few points through this one point here, so this is pretty sketchy times. Constant attrition on the front line as Ligs exchanging fire with mortars and conscripts, engineers, and so on. But this is a battle which PaoJ is comfortable taking. I mean, when you build your battle group at HQ in a position like this and get this composition and start fighting like this, you're saying, okay, I'm signing myself up for this kind of a grind fest. So this is PaoJ's plan right now. He wants to be constantly trading. He wants to be in the face of his opponent with Ligs and Volks at all times, and that's what he's doing. So you have to feel like PaoJ must have a plan for this. He's got 2 squads of Volks, a squad of Volks and a squad of Storm Pioneers capping up here just north of mid, and gonna actually finally reconnect some resources. These Volksgrenadiers are being pretty resurgent. I feel like DarkaB0T needs some shock troops or something to push this back. He's chosen his commander, of course. He's gone for the assault rifle frontline tactics, the ever-popular Soviet commander. Gives you access to those abilities on the screen there. Just press pause if you want to overview them at your leisure. But a pretty spicy package featuring a lot of nice call-ins. Whoa, a savage Lig round there, killing 3 conscripts of a 3-star squad. Those conscripts are going to be forced to retreat, and they are going to get out, but damn, those light guns are starting to hurt. One of them now up to 1-star veterancy with 16 kills. My goodness, the other one nearly at 1-star with 9 kills. So, pardon me. So, yeah, those light guns are definitely, I would have said that they paid for themselves pretty much, so that's pretty good. DarkaB0T gasping for manpower a little bit, and I think like PaoJ's plan of this constant attrition with his forward position is beginning to pay off, I think. Soviet forces here. DarkaB0T's going to move out into the north with 3 squads here. He's going to try and take a fight. There are some Storm Pioneers here, but he should be able to take them with these 3 squads. Maxim getting set up in an okay position. Once again finding itself in negative cover, though. A touch awkward for the Allied player. And these Volksgrenadiers are going to get right up on top of it, but you know what? They don't even need to use a grenade. 2 Lig rounds going to land bang in the middle of the squad, and the MG is even going to be destroyed. It's not even dropped, so a squad wipe and an MG loss there for the Soviet player. Wow, this is looking pretty brutal. These conscripts, I think, this point's captured. They need to push up to this cover. There we go. Maximize their DPS, of course, at closer range. And there's a Kubelwagen on the field now for PaoJ. That's just going to be taking care of the backfield, grabbing points, getting stuff done, doing some work back there. And the light guns, an incendiary artillery call-in used on the battle group at HQ, That's going to take care of one light gun. The other one repositioned itself further back. Mechanized Regiment HQ has come down in a far more defensible position, so that's pretty wise stuff. And a Panzer II Luke's just now coming onto the production queue for the Axis player. And you've got to think that's going to be brutal right now. A light gun gets stolen from the conscripts, but even with that, there's no hard anti-tank in this lineup. Molotov coming down in a reasonable position there. And is he going to be able to get this light gun out? You've got to think the Axis player is focusing that with all these Volks and the Storm Pioneers. There we go, yeah, he's going to want that back. And these engineers, yeah, they're going to have to get back as well. So, able to re-secure mid is PaoJ, but he took some serious hits there. Oh, that mortar round looked like it could have been brutal, but not quite finishing off that 3-star Volk squad or the Light squad. So a little unlucky there. This mortar now nearly at 2 stars, despite having no kill. There we go, it gets his first kill and gets to 2 stars just then. But PaoJ is set back up with his 2 lives. His Panzer II's just entering the field. There's no Zisgun, but there is a KV-8 on the field for the Soviet player. And of course, that can switch to using its main cannon. Now, the main cannon is not very spectacular. It's not going to wow the crowds or anything, but it will be able to penetrate a Panzer II Luke's, and it will be able to ward away the light tank and force it to scurry back. So, DarkaB0T has an option here to parry the light tank with his heavy flamethrower tank. But I still think that the Panzer II is going to be able to get some great work done. I mean, there's just nothing else, and a Panzer II does incredibly rapid damage. Its DPS is pretty spicy, and it's just going to start hooning into these conscripts. Now, the AT grenade is researched, and we can see an URA and an AT grenade, but if PaoJ is paying any kind of attention whatsoever and is on the ball with his micro, there's no way he's going to get tagged by an AT grenade. It shouldn't happen. That will require a mistake from PaoJ. Yeah, the conscripts here, they're going to move towards the Panzer II, but that's almost what it wants, as it's just going to kite back. KV-8, though, getting into a great position, actually, and it's going to be able to roast and toast the HQ building here. Oh, it's set to its main gun? It's set to its main gun. You've got to think the flamethrower would be more effective at this point. The Panzer II is going to come down to the south, displace those engineers, but I feel like the Soviet forces need some kind of harder anti-tank right now. And he's kind of gasping for manpower as DarkaB0T, so it's going to be a difficult task to get a hold of some hard AT. 320, I believe, is the cost for a Zisgun. Yeah, 320 for a Zisgun, so he's going to keep saving and saving hard for that. The Panzer II doing some fantastic damage, deflects yet another squad of conscripts in the south. And Incendiary Artillery is going to come down to clear away these Volks in mid, but it's not really going to achieve much. They only have to fall back like that far, and then they're pretty much out of jeopardy. I feel like the KV-8 should switch back to its flamethrower, and that could have been quite a hazardous situation. But actually, you know what? This continuous focused firing of the Battle Group HQ from the KV-8 has actually whittled it down, and the mortar's hooning in as well. I think that I think PaoJ stands to lose this structure, and that's quite a setback. That is a real irritation for the Overcommand player. He's either going to have to replace that or just soldier on without it. On this map, the HQ is not far away, so you can soldier on without it, though it will sting not to have those medics that the Battle Group HQ provides. An anti-tank grenade finally going to make contact with this Luke's here. That's going to break the engine and force the light tank to get out of there. Another AT grenade coming down now, and actually, wait, if there's an AT grenade available on this squad, oh, no munitions for the Soviet player. PaoJ is not going to be able to do that, but this light tank could go down to another AT grenade, or indeed if the KV-8 comes in. The KV-8 can of course catch it now that the engine's broken, and things looking pretty bleak here for PaoJ. There's a couple of Panzerschrecks on Volks coming into cover, but I think that this KV-8, no, it's not even going to be needed. The AT grenade comes down off the conscripts when the munitions are available. The Luke's burns, and that's a really nice pickup for the Soviet player, but 3 squads of Volks, which are 4-star with Panzerschrecks, is intimidating, and they've still got 2 light guns just hosing rounds out from behind them. And, you know, PaoJ doesn't need to hold this forward position. He's quite capable of holding victory points without holding a middle position as well. So, I would say that this game's still in anybody's hands. The KV-8 is nice, but that's going to need repairing. And 3 squads of Volks at 4 stars with Shreks. That's not nothing. A lot of salvaging going to come down here as well for the Overcommand player, who's floating 460 manpower now. And after this salvage, he's going to have like 210-ish fuel. And his fuel income is at plus 29, which is like, you know, that's reasonable. So we could see some pretty decent. We could see a Panzer 5 command tank coming out pretty soon. That's a Panther tank. I'll just say it the regular way. It's a Panther tank. Why am I trying to get all fancy? So yeah, we'll see a Panther tank, command tank, possibly coming out soon. Use of the infiltration grenade package there, going to get one of these conscript squads to back out. Another infiltration grenade package. Whoa! These conscripts need to fall back, and that's an unlucky fallback path here. Yep, PaoJ is going to focus the one-man squad. He's going to get a wipe on those conscripts. And DarkaB0T can ill afford to lose units at this point. Like, he's still flat out for manpower, and there's still so many things he needs. He has a Zisk gun now, so that's really nice. That's going to help him a lot with this Panther command tank, which is just now entering the field. But I feel like he needs shock troops, and they're like, what, 390 manpower, so quite the expensive unit there, as I just take a break for a sip on my tea. Oh, that is the stuff. That is a delicate and full-bodied Jasmine right there. Lovely. He's actually pushed the likes right up as PaoJ, no fear. This Panther command tank, it gives all of the nearby units, nearby vehicles have improved sight and movement. And then as it veterans up, it gives them additional abilities. And then I think it's at veterancy 4 or 5. Yeah, Command Aura now improves unit range. And then at 5, yeah, the Command Aura will then affect all units, which is like, that's pretty spicy if you get that to happen. So anyway, he's not bought the MG42 for that, owing to a lack of munitions, but I'd love to see that come down soon. Anyone who's watched my channel for any amount of time whatsoever knows how picky I am about my vehicle upgrades. I like players who get them in a timely fashion. I like them to come down promptly. But PaoJ, in this case, does have a good excuse. He actually can't afford it, so, you know, fair enough. I'll give him some leniency in this case, but he better buy that upgrade when he can, or well, I'm going to have words with... Well, I'm not, because I have no way to contact him, but damn it, he'll have my disapproval. A mighty fearsome concept. Conscripts here are going to get some work done in the south, and we've got a moment of peace here whilst both forces reinforce and rearm. So I'm just going to crack the tactical map, and we can get a feel here for the situation on the battlefield right now. And you've got to feel like PaoJ and the Overcommand forces have the upper hand. The Panther command tank is an intimidating piece. He still has a good indirect firebase in those 2 legs, and he still has a great frontline infantry presence with 3 squads of Volks with Shreks, one of which now at 5-star. So a pretty healthy Overcommand force out there, and one which is capable of dealing with almost any unit that DarkaB0T's capable of producing. Now, DarkaB0T, it feels like he's going to save for the IS-2, 640 the amount of manpower needed for that, so he's going to have to save pretty hard. And the trouble is, you know, he's going to have to keep reinforcing conscripts and stuff like that, so it's going to be a while, I feel like, before that IS-2's on the field. There's a window here for PaoJ to be pretty dominant and get some work done. The scoreline at the moment, 428 for the Axis forces, 316 for the Allies, and PaoJ is grabbing the 3rd victory point over here on the right-hand side of the map. He's grabbing 3 points simultaneously, but importantly, he's grabbing this victory point here, so the Soviet player stands to be bleeding at 3 points per tick, although these conscripts might have something to say about that, making a dive as they do for the southernmost victory point. The KV-8 has been fully repaired, but that's actually seemingly is going to be restricted to just sitting in the base, afraid to take to the battlefield with the Panther 5, the Panzer 5 Panther tank out there. Yeah, I kind of understand that, but I think you've got to try and use the KV-8. Like, at least sneak it up to here behind this line of sight blocker, so you can just like quickly run out and roast and toast an infantry squad, or, you know, sneak it over to the right-hand side of the map or something, because, you know, you knew just now that there were 3 infantry squads capping on the right, and you knew that the Panther tank was in mid, so it seems like a reasonable choice for DarkaB0T to put the KV-8 onto the right flank. You know, even if the Panzer 5, even if the Panther command tank comes for it, you can screen the Panther with your conscripts. It doesn't want to get hit by an AT grenade and fall the KV-8 back. It's got plenty of health. It can take a hit or 2 off the Panzer 5 and fall back. So I would say that's an application there for the KV-8, which he could go for, but for whatever reason he's deciding to just park it in his base instead. 3-star mortar squad here for the Soviet player. That is spicy. Liking that. How many kills did it have? Like 2? 5. Wow. Must have been doing like a lot of splash damage. Anyway, the IS-2 now an option, and it is called in for the Soviet player. Boom, here we go. The heavy tank now on the field. Whoa. Apparently running pretty silent there. The engines sound very, 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 very quiet. And I still think that the Panther to some extent has this answered. An IS-2, until it's like a little bit more vetted up so it has improved rate of fire, isn't that much of a threat for this Panther command tank. And I don't know, I mean, the Zisk gun's going to get stuck in, but this KV-8 is kind of hung out to dry right now. That's taking a little bit of damage. There's Panzer Shrek stalking in here as well. I don't like the positioning on this Panther, though. He was very slow to rotate his armor. He could have been rotating this tank much faster. Oh no, and now the Panther has its engine broken by a squad of conscripts coming in from the north. This Panther is now stricken. There's an IS-2 in its rear armor. Oh dear, the turret traverse speed on that IS-2 is horribly slow. There we go. Finally gets a hit. The Zisk gun chipping in for a round there as well. And the Panther tank is lost. And for no good reason there. Like, there was no reason why that Panther tank needed to die there. If he'd have just played it more defensively and kept the armor facing the correct direction, that Panther would still be alive. So some unlucky stuff there for PaoJ, but also some poor decision making, or or at least he just wasn't quite fast enough with the Panther. And he's been punished for that. He's been punished for that pretty hard. And now he finds himself at 51 supply, under 71. If you look at the top left, look at the top right, yes, the Axis force is well equipped and competent, but it is badly outnumbered now. And there's a lot of veterancy over the Soviet force as well. These light guns are still doing well, but the IS-2 has found them. That's going to just destroy one squad, as the IS-2 does have the capability to do. The shells on that tank, super high explosive, and they're not very accurate when it's at these low stages of veterancy, but when they do get a hit into an infantry squad, it's like, oh, it's eye-watering stuff. So, anyway, he's going to play it safe with the IS-2 and get it back. These Panzerschrecks are going to look to screen it out. Our Puma here, going to be the hasty armor of choice here for PaoJ. And I don't mind this choice. It is reasonable, and I'm a Puma fan at the best of times. And I think especially well microed, a Puma performs well above its fuel tag. Like for 70 fuel, actually they've been increased, haven't they? They're now, no, sorry, for 70 fuel, the Puma can take on like Shermans, it can take on Panzer IVs, T-34s, it can even take on a Firefly, Cromwells. The Puma's a really good little beast. But an IS-2 is like just a little bit too much armor for it to comfortably penetrate from the front. So this Puma is, unless it gets a spicy angle of engagement, unlikely given that the IS-2 has a lot of support in the form of the Sysgun infantry KV-8. Then I guess the Puma's not going to be able to do very much. So, I don't know, I think he doesn't have his Schwerer Panzer HQ, because a Jagdpanzer would be ideal right now. A Jagdpanzer would be absolutely great, but no option for a Jagdpanzer, so he's going to have to make do with the Puma. He's getting a Rakettenwerfer, and he's obviously still got 3 squads of Volks with Shreks, but they look a little bit fragile in the face of a KV-8 and an IS-2. Although speaking of fragile, these tanks need to be repaired. There are 3 squads of engineers who need to converge on these tanks and repair them. Puma can do some work against the KV-8, and that it will. Ooh, the Puma needs repairing as well, actually. Whoa, some tricksy maneuvering there. Smoke going to be used to protect the Puma from the IS-2, and where's the Zisgun? Yeah, protecting it from the Zisgun as well, although, will it? Yep, okay, there's no line of sight there for that Zisgun, so no shot will be forthcoming. The light guns, there's a good concentration of Soviet forces here, so the light guns are firing in. They could get a nice hit on these conscripts or on this Zisgun. The IS-2 supporting these conscripts, going to screen out these Volks, and there we go, one of the highly veteran squads of Volks did just get vaporized by the IS-2, which is it looks like it might even pick up this 2-star Lig as well. So a lot of damage being dealt here, and I think now is a sensible time to pull back the IS-2. And we see DarkaB0T is going to fall it back now for repairs. It's down at like 25% of its health. There's no reason to be cocky and lose that right now. There's no reason to be greedy and overextend and get punished by losing your main piece right now. So he's going to fall back the IS-2 for now. Puma's going to come forward, but I think the Zisgun will have something to say about that. Yeah, that's going to force the Puma back, even though it was a miss. As I take a sip on my tea here. Keep an eye on the minimap. You can see 2 Soviet squads chewing up ground in the south of the map. They're going to be grabbing a victory point. And right now the scoreline 4-1-9 for the Axis player over 2-1-6 for the Soviet player. So I would say if PaoJ does have an edge in this game, it has to be in that scoreline, and that means that he's going to have enough time. If he needs it, he can trade victory points for time here to get a solution for this IS-2. He just needs to decide what he wants that solution to be. Is he going to throw a Schwerer Panzer HQ and go for a Jagdpanzer? Is he just going to save for another Panther command tank? Sorry. A lot of choices available for him there. I'm guessing it's just going to be the Panther, to be honest. But we'll see. Rakettenwerfer gets set up in a nice position there, and that's going to deflect this IS-2 pretty rapidly, getting itself a star of veterancy. Squad will be able to move faster in camouflage is the bonus there, so that's pretty useful. Shock troops taking to the field though now for DarkaB0T, and that's going to give his infantry a slightly harder edge, which might be exactly what he needs. Especially against the depleted... Whoa, another one of the 5-star Volk squads was lost somewhere, maybe even just here. I did miss when that occurred. He's replaced it with a fresh green noob squad of Volks, but yeah, the infantry forces for PaoJ looking severely depleted. He's going to dodge this grenade. These Storm Pioneers going to try and trade against these Stormtroopers, but they've got a Panzerschreck in the squad, which is going to reduce their point-blank DPS against infantry considerably, and those shocks are going to handily take that fight. Now, mass repairing going on for these Soviet forces. It's not going to be long till the IS-2 and the KV-8 come back to the front, and when they do, well, I don't know what PaoJ is going to be able to do. I mean, he's just going to have to try and cobble together some kind of defense. Where's that Rakettenwerfer? It is in the same position, albeit camouflage. That is a reasonable position for it. But all 3 victory points now in Soviet hands. And this is what I mean. PaoJ is going to have to trade these victory points for time if he wants to have another bite at this particular apple. Because he needs something. How much is the Panther command tank? 225 fuel. So actually, he could have that in about 2 minutes if he buys nothing else with his manpower, which is a risky proposition. Whoa, these Volksgrenadiers are stacked right up. And the IS-2 and the KV-8 do a good amount of splash damage. Wow, the IS-2 is going to disrupt the hell out of their fallback path, and I think we're going to see the demise of this other 5-star Volk squad here. One man, perilously low health. That could be all she wrote for that squad. Where's the Rakettenwerfer? That's going to fall back as well. Whoa, risky times. Although, has it been displaced by infantry? Well, no, risky times there then. I don't know, where's the Puma in all this? Right at the back here. And looks like the Mechanized Regiment HQ is going to be forfeit on this particular run. KV-8 getting some fantastic work done here. Oh, this infantry just getting splashed here. They're going to have to fall back. The Puma's going to try and sneak forward and try and get some fun finishing blows maybe on these tanks. We'll see if that's going to happen. Oh, the Puma's come way far forward. This is either a misclick or a suicide run to buy time. Looks like it's a suicide run to buy time. How is the Puma alive? Wow, he's going to get away with that. That is astounding. I mean, if he babysits this Puma, oh, hits some mines, and that's going to be the end of it. Wow, he's not going to get away with it. I was just going to say, if he babysits the Puma, once the Puma gets to 2 and 3 stars, it has the rate of fire, and it also gets a weapon potency buff, which means it can actually penetrate the frontal armor of the IS-2 from time to time. Not reliably, but from time to time. So that Puma 2, if he babysat it, could have been a solution, but it's not going to be. And PaoJ now in a pretty bad place. We've got Soviet troops capping points up in the north. Got this KV-8 being repaired. Actually, if he wanted to be super efficient, he could have driven it onto this point and then repaired it on the point, and then these guys could have captured it. But you know, it's an almost insignificant observation at this point. This Maxim set up in a delicious position. Actually, that's going to suppress the hell out of a lot of Axis infantry here. Back up to 3 squads of Volks though is PaoJ, so that's where his manpower has gone. He has the fuel now for this Panther command tank. 225. You know, I don't think that Panther command tank has been adjusted since the December the 3rd patch. I don't think it has it? Because a regular Panther for overcommand is now 200. But this Panther command tank is still just 225. That actually makes this commander look a hell of a lot better. That may explain why I've seen a couple of players, for example right now PaoJ, using this commander. That's quite interesting. Anyway, KV-8's going to get right on up into the Axis base here. It's going to start roasting and toasting a pretty expensive squad of Storm Pioneers with a Shrek, and it's taken some hits, but he can do this right now. Whoa, actually, oh god, this is a second KV-8, and even if he loses it right now, it's hardly the end of the world. The 2-star KV-8 going to get in and roast and toast a lot of these Volks. It was careless of him to lose this KV-8. He's going to get the Storm Pioneer squad for his troubles. But again, you know, 2 KV-8s is better than 1, and he didn't have to trade that one away. But he's far enough ahead now where even just trading that for these Storm Pioneers, that's just fine. He can do that. There's a Panzer Shrek on the ground here just now, though, actually, and if PaoJ spots that, which he should pick that up. It's probably worth getting it on the 5-star squad, simply because they'll have the improved accuracy and reload speed on that Panzer Shrek, and right now he needs all the AT he can get. So yeah, this IS-2 is now repaired and ready to come back in. All 3 victory points still in Allied hands. The scoreline, as near as makes no difference, even now. So PaoJ has used up his advantage. Now he still has 219 tickets to give, but I'm not sure what he can get that is going to be a solution here, because even saving up for that Panther, if he doesn't spend manpower for the next minute, he can buy it. But something tells me he's going to have to reinforce some squads. So that Panther's going to be, I don't know, maybe 75 seconds away, maybe 90 seconds away. And then in that time, the Soviet player can put together one more thing he needs to answer. And I don't know, I think barring a particularly spectacular engagement, PaoJ is in a real bad place. Now, he does have the tools for a pretty good engagement. 3 squads of Volks with Shreks, a Rakettenwerfer, he's even got an MG, he's got the indirect fire to cover him. Although if he just loses this squad, oh dearie me. Oh! Is this Volksgrenadier going to make it? He's actually going to get out of there. Wow, I was going to say, if he just loses that squad, then the odds of him taking that fight look slim. But anyway, if he can take a good fight, like with his Panther when it arrives, and take out the IS-2 maybe, then he can look to get back into this game, perhaps. So I guess that has to be the plan right now for PaoJ. He needs how much manpower? 560, so still has to save for about another 40 seconds. And that is assuming he doesn't reinforce anything. Oh goodness me, this Maxim is getting utterly roasted and toasted. These shocks are going to look to get the squad wipe here. Whoa, that is some insane moonwalking. What is that guy doing? What is that guy doing? That is some impressive work. Well, with troops like that on their side, how can PaoJ and the Axis forces lose? That's pretty impressive. This light gun's going to get burned out, and I don't know. I mean, credit where credit's due. PaoJ just putting together one hell of a defense on the doorstep of his base here. But here comes some incendiary artillery. That's going to hurt. I mean, this looks pretty bad right now. PaoJ is doing everything he can to not die. And here comes that Panther command tank. It is a little late, but at least it's here. And with careful management, if he keeps this at range, he may be able to buy himself a bit of space around his base. Alternatively, as I was alluding to earlier, he could just try and force a big fight and try and take out an IS-2. I mean, that's obviously that's the high risk, high reward one right there. But I'm not sure that risk is even that. You know, I'm not sure your odds of success are even good enough to justify that kind of a risk, to be honest. The Panther's going to come straight on out and find the IS-2, which seems to be up for a scrap with the Panther, actually. That is unusual. I think if I was the Soviet player, I would probably back away and assemble some more of my AT tools, because this is a fight which in the frontal armor the Panther will take all day. There we go. And actually this IS-2 is unsupported and pretty stricken. The Ziskan way far back, and maybe he's just trying to bait the Panther into the Ziskan, but no, because now the Ziskan's packing up and going as well, so... Alright, looks like he went for option B. Rather than try and force a big fight and take the Panther, looks like PaoJ is going to use the Panther to push his enemy armor back. And if I correct the tack, you can see he now has a little bit of breathing room. He's capturing some points around the map. He can push his infantry out. He can finally get some resources flowing. You know, remember what it's like to have munitions and fuel again. And he's even going to grab a victory point here, and that's going to, you know, that's going to cut his rate of bleed in 3. Instead of losing 3 tickets per tick, he'll only be losing 1. So, oh no, he doesn't actually manage to complete the cap, so losing 2. And he's at 69 under 216, so losing 2 per tick, that only gives him like 92 seconds. 92 seconds at 2 seconds per tick, so that's a pretty hard one. I mean, he's fighting the good fight, but wow, this Ziskan is getting some work done against the Panther. That's going to be forced back, that's going to zone out the Panther, and if the Soviet player decides to go for another Ziskan, I mean, he's got 13 for a unit cap. He could go for an Su-76, actually, that would be a really nice choice. Not that he needs it, but it would just completely, you know, round out his army, if you like. Or he could actually just go for a half-track and keep the pressure on, reinforce his troops very close to the front line. Actually, I'd like that choice a lot more. I think a half-track would be really nice for the Soviet player. But, I mean, this is almost academic. I mean... it would be very hard for him to find the line of play where he loses, so it's less about finding that one super sweet line of play and just more about thinking, how can I lose this game, and making sure you don't do that right now for DarkaB0T. These 5-star Volks looking pretty... they're getting really roasted and toasted. They are going to squeeze out of that fight just. So again, just about preserving his core infantry there, which is so important when you play as overcommand. These 5-star Volks in a bit of a pickle as well. They're going to need a prompt fallback here. I don't know if PaoJ is paying attention. He needs to be. The Panther tank is, for some reason, reversing in. I'm not sure about that. That doesn't seem like the right choice. Rakettenwerfer here, going to get up in the grill of this IS-2, get some hits in. There's even a Shrek supporting it, actually. Wow, so the IS-2 taking quite a lot of damage there. And that's enough to get this, what was a noob squad. They're going to be vetted up to 5 stars here for PaoJ. Panther's going to come forward looking for the IS-2. Not going to find it. Going to find a KV-8, maybe an opportunity for some damage. Nope. What does it get at 1-star veterancy, this thing? Combat Blitz. Okay, that's pretty standard then. Sorry, the Panther 5 command tank is probably a unit I can honestly say I've maybe used like 3 times. Maybe. It may only be twice. But now that I've figured out that they haven't adjusted the price, I have to say I do have some interest now in trying this commander out again. I mean, the infrared STGs are no joke, and the other abilities are pretty useful, so... I mean, the infrared STGs is probably the weakest thing on this commander's roster, but... You know, they're still usable. And they do make your Obersoldaten pretty scary. A light gun, which was sent to pluckily capture this point to buy PaoJ just every second of time in this game he could get, has been taken out by conscripts. PaoJ now down at 24 supply, under 213. He's losing tickets at 2 per tick, soon to be 3. That gives him a very small amount of time to be left in this game. And I think that that's going to be all she wrote for Han PaoJ here. who put up a fantastic game, and I have to say, from my point of view as a caster, very fun to watch, and slightly heartwarming, of course, to see tactics similar to those that I use being used by a player, you know, nearer the top end of the ladder. And you know, I think PaoJ conducted this battle reasonably. You know, he put on a decent show here. I mean, that was a good show of skill. But DarkaB0T able to overcome him. The Soviet toolkit, and particularly this commander, shock rifle frontline tactics. You know, I would say to Soviet players out there, if you're playing without this guy on your roster, definitely go for him. He's super awesome. He's really, really good. He gives you a lot of the things you need. He gives you a good munitions dump. He gives you 3 core units, which are like super sweet. He gives you the late game insurance policy in the IS2. He gives you the KV8 utility, and he gives you that shock troops to bolster your frontline infantry. So a pretty cool commander. And for what they're worth, the anti-tank gun ambush tactics. Bit of a dud, but from time to time you might get some use out of that. So anyway, yeah, that brings this battle to a conclusion. Thank you very much to everybody out there for watching, and yeah, once again, hooray, because I'm now like the backup caster for the ESL and stuff. That's going to be like super cool. I am hyped about that, so hopefully I can bring you guys a whole load of new stuff. It's going to be really exciting, and of course, I'll look to bring you guys some live look-ins and some more battles as soon as I can. So for now, this is Magpie 42 signing out.